Hey, good evening. Good evening, everyone. James here. Thank you for joining me again here on a Tuesday night. A little bit later and a little bit different situation than the last time you might have watched me. Complete sober mind tonight. That's a good start. I want to get into something that I wish that my first video could have been on and should have been on, but I skipped over a big topic, right? Like the first thing that should have come out of my mouth should have been about the George Floyd thing, okay? The killing of George Floyd. I shouldn't be minimizing it. The George Floyd thing. That's not. Anyways, I think we should talk a little bit about what's going on and where we're at now. And to do so, I think I need to start off from the beginning and relay my feelings at the beginning of all this when this first started, and just give you a real look at how I was feeling at that time. When this first broke. So I'm going to read a post that I made. The post was on May 28th. George Floyd was killed on May 25th. So I think it's important to start there so we get my initial reaction where I was at the beginning of this. So I start off by saying, I just want to say, I beg that everyone recognizes this is the very first time out of all of these officer being taped killing a black man tragedies that have ever happened in the past. This is the first time both sides seem to fully agree and are in this fight together. This disgusting video I watched a couple days ago, it just killed me to see and to hear. Literally had my jaw on the ground for 10 minutes afterwards, and it has affected me ever since. And it's felt that way by everyone who is anyone. So my point in that was the saying, I listen to media on a constant basis every day, and every major political pundit on both sides of the aisle felt that way about it and were disgusted by it. And that was the first time that kind of happened, because most of the time these videos come out and most people react with, I want to see what happened before that video started. What led up to that? And then people on the other side say, why do you always ask that? And it doesn't matter what happened before that started. Well, for the first time, no one was saying that. Both sides were in complete agreement about how they felt about that video. And that was a nice moment. So I wrote, every known person, commentator on the right has come out and stood with this man's family and calling this act out as a murder where justice must be given. Nobody is talking about, I want to see what happened before the camera started. This time, nobody is running around talking about what kind of person the victim was. This was at the beginning, remember. Nobody in this instance cares what happened before the camera was rolling. I said at the time, even if he just shot someone in the back of the head and fought the police up until the moment the camera started, he was no longer a threat nor a danger to anyone at that moment when he had his knee on his neck. But at that moment, the cop knew. He knew it. The cop knew it, I wrote. But like an idiot with no training at all, persisted until he killed the poor man. We have the right as citizens of this country to not be executed, judged, tried by the officers who protect us. So that's what I was getting at that point. That's what I wanted to relay in that moment. I said, the police are not our judge, jury, and executioner. This is what set us apart from the old world. See, this happened at a particular point, a very peculiar time in history where both the left and the right now have huge grievances with police at this very moment. And it could possibly be that this tragic death of George Floyd is the thing that starts to bring our nation back together. The pain from this event will bring something good to the world, and he will be remembered for it, I said. Now, what I was getting at that point, because I remember at the time, this is when, you know, it shouldn't be this way, but just to make things easier for conversation, the right is generally more supportive of authority. The police, military. The left is the opposite, generally speaking. Don't mean that as a blanket statement at all, but there's some truth to it. So at the time when George Floyd was killed, it was crazy because it was the same time when all these people on the right were protesting against their livelihoods being shut down and protesting their businesses that they built from the ground up be shut down. And for the first time, there was a lot of more conservative type people having issues with police at that time. So I figured both sides right now are protesting against the police. This may be a uniting moment. And could have been, should have been. I don't know that it was that. I don't really want to get into that stuff too much tonight because I want to have a different purpose to this video, and I don't necessarily feel that it's right for me to sit here and talk about all the ins and outs to this situation. It's a deep conversation, and that's the first topic that I want to get into when I do like an interview with someone and I have someone that can add perspective from another point of view to the story, so that my ass isn't just sitting here giving advice to the black community on how they can help change things, the police, how they can change things. They would tell me, you don't know what you're talking about. So that's real, and I understand it. And I have so much to say when it comes to why this is happening and why over the years the community I grew up in feels a certain way about the police, and why the police and their supporters feel a certain way about those communities. And it has a lot less to do with race than you may want to believe or maybe being led to believe. And I truly believe that. But that's not for tonight, okay? So next, I want to play a video of George Floyd from May 29th when I said, this is who George Floyd is. An amazing person. And I posted that video of him that I'm sure you've all seen, but I think it's important to watch together and remember who he was. So I'm gonna take a moment with you and watch this.
Man, our young generation is clearly lost, man. Clearly lost, man. Like I don't even know what to say no more, man. Like, you youngsters just going around, just busting guns in crowds, kids getting killed, you know, and it's clearly the generation after us, man, that's so lost, man. You know, man, I came into Houston and told me, yeah, Floyd, that young truth, man, right there, because he could bust a gun. Man, I knew it was crazy then. I ain't saying this here, man. You know what I'm saying? And condoning this, bro. You know what I'm saying? And like half them young shooting them guns go home and they knees shaking at night. But they don't show it to nobody because, you know, they ain't tough then. Hey, man, come on home, man. One day it's going to be you and God. You going up or you going down. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so now that we watched this video together, we remember the type of man that he was. And I think things can disappear from memory and the feelings you have when you watch something like that. Now, there's a lot more to the story of his life than just that. And now, light has been shed on his history and things, and people don't appreciate that happening. I want all the information. I want to know everything. I want to know the ins and outs to it all. Don't hide any of it from me. And, you know, his history probably wouldn't have been talked about at all if it weren't for Candace Owens talking about it and getting it out there like she did. And so the argument was on the left, like not only on the left but just from the black community, like why do you care about that so much? Like, why would you even talk about it? What does that got to do with what happened to him, his history of how he was a bad person? Like, that man was not as good as the person that we just saw in this video. But people can be better, and then people can slide. He slid big. He slid big. But you could tell he was a good-hearted individual, and I think he had a good soul. But man, life can take us down crazy paths sometimes, you know? And a good person with a good soul can find themselves in bad predicaments, just, you know, cracked out, just to be blunt. You just absolutely find yourself in the worst situations possible on drugs. And that's it. That's all we have to stop at, it on drugs. Like, it doesn't need to go any further than that. Drugs made that man act the way he did.
It is a symbol of Black America today, and it's a symbol of a broken culture in Black America today, and people are not willing to talk about, again, how we contribute to our own demise. The fact that he has been held up as a martyr sickens me. George Floyd was not a good person. I don't care who wants to spin that. I don't care how CNN wants to make you think he changed his life around, or MSNBC wants you to believe he was just, you know, after his sixth stint in prison, I think, or fifth stint in prison, really going to change things around. It's just not true. I mean, you look at this situation. Here's how I tried to see it through the eyes of the young woman who was pregnant in 2007 when a guy knocked on her door pretending that he worked for the water department. She realizes he doesn't work for the water department, attempts to slam the door in his face, only to have a Ford, pull up with 4 more men that get out of the car, one of which is George Floyd. George Floyd slams his way into her cracked door as she's trying to close it. He takes out a pistol and he holds it to her pregnant belly, threatening her and pushing her into her living room. While she is in the living room, he has another one of his armed buddies keep an eye on her as they raid her house looking for drugs and looking for money. They did not find drugs, but they did take her cell phone, and I think they took some cash, and he escaped. Fortunately, the neighbor who observed this caught the license plate, and the police were able to track down the driver of that Ford, which was George Floyd. So that was, I think, his fifth arrest, the one that he went to prison for 5 years. This woman now has to watch this man be held up as a hero, okay? This once pregnant woman, I can't even think about the trauma, okay? Held up as a hero and a martyr for causes, a wonderful human being that was just about to get his life together. Sure, he was high on methamphetamine and fentanyl. Wait.
Candace Owens coming out and saying, this guy that you want to turn into a martyr, you want our community to praise, is not the guy you want our communities doing that to. It's true. People would say, well, who's praising him? Who's turning him into a martyr? What is no one's doing. Well, no, she's kind of right. People walking around with his shirt, with his face, putting it on their kids. That's not the man you want them to exemplify. That's not the man you want them to aim to be when they grow up. At all. And I think after watching the videos that broke yesterday, that's even more obvious of what happened. That the way he was acting and stuff. We're going to watch that together, too. We need to watch that together and react to it live. I only watched it one time when I was on break in the middle of work one day. And I had a strong reaction to that video. And man, you should have seen me at work. I came back from lunch like a different person. I was just running around like, oh my God. Anyone see this video this video just broke of what happened leading up to those moments? before the kneeling on the neck thing, which was absolutely not okay. I'm just going to keep reiterating that every single time I get the chance, which absolutely was not okay. There's so many other ways that should have went. But with the exposure of this video, you could see my final prediction the other day, which I hate saying that word now because I heard it myself say it so many times in one video that I want to vomit every time I hear the word now. So I'm going to try not to say that word again. But when I made that statement saying that Keith Ellison, I believe, is doing these things on purpose, possibly to cause chaos, is because chaos is their number one goal. When I say they, I mean the far left of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Socialists of America, which Keith Ellison is that, okay? He belongs to the far left side of, he's not some moderate or something. I don't want to get into all of what he stands for and everything. I just wish I could say that and you just believe me, but maybe you'll go learn for yourself a little bit about who he is and whatnot. I think I went over that enough the other day, but I just want to really magnify the importance of that because it's a main part of that story. And seeing this video that came out that was just released 2 days ago, and now seeing this video yesterday of the lead up to George Floyd really put some different opinions in your mind about how all this went. Although in the end he should not have knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 46? I believe 46, right? I believe. He shouldn't. We all know that. And we all know he's not innocent. But will he be found guilty is the question. He's not innocent, and we all know that. First of all, the question would be, how in the world do you ever get a fair trial from a jury that's been exposed to the story the way we are? There's no way anyone walks in there and doesn't say guilty, right? Until you add in the idea of reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is all it takes. I want you to watch this video with that in mind. How are you going to get a whole room of jurors to agree to no unreasonable doubt he's guilty? I don't think you get there very easily with this information that came out now. With the autopsy report, with all the drugs in his system, with the video showing how it was happening before, it's going to be rough. Let's go ahead and watch this video together and react to it together. Taps on the window. Oh, we need it.
See your hands. Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand. I'm sorry. Let me see your other hand. With both hands. Put your hands up right now. Let me see your other hand. Put your hand up there. Put your hand up there. Hands on the wheel. Hands on the wheel.
Okay, he's freaked out because he's been shot before, and he has a gun pointed in his face. But this is not how you react in this moment. Not the thing to do.
Okay, well, when I say let me see your hands, you put your hands up. You got them? Put your hands on top of your head.
Okay, puts his hands on his head and takes them right back off.
Hands on top of your head. Hands on top of your head.
He can't focus long enough to... He wants to
Step out of
comply.
the vehicle. Step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step
But he's
out
so
and face
distraught
away.
he can't even
I'm not gonna shoot
can't
you. Step
even
out and face
control
away.
it.
I'm gonna get out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man. I just lost my mom, man. Step out and face away. Step out and face away. Please don't shoot me, Mr. Please don't shoot me, man. Step out and face away. You not shoot me, man.
one's gonna shoot you, man. Just get out.
Please, man. Please. I didn't know, man. I didn't know.
You hear that? She says, "Stop resisting." She's yelling for him. Just chill. You can hear her and the other dude telling him to chill out. Now, everybody handles everything differently, but this is not the way to handle this situation.
Yes, you are. Against the wall. Yes. What I do? We're figuring out what's going on. Drop the bag. Figure out what's going on. Adam, what's the problem? We don't get him. It ain't us. We just get the ride. I just got my phone fixed. It's my accident. Adam wrote me. It's my accident. You good? You keep coming. Get my car. That's it, man. You can ask Mr. Adam about me. You have ID? I'm on 38 years old. I just came from Tabby, and when I bought a Tabby, it didn't work. Oh my God! He didn't even do nothing. Sir, you have ID? No, I don't. My name's Shawan Hill.
Counterfeit bill. This was over. He probably would have never even been charged for anything. They just needed to like write up the situation. They couldn't convict him. How do you know it was even him that? How would you know that it was him that took the bill, that created the bill? How do you know someone would just pass it off on to him?
Especially when that man took that gun like that. It's been one. What's your first name? He's pretty good. George Floyd. He's a good guy. George Floyd, you said. Ouchie, man. Are you on something right now? No, nothing. You acting erratic. Let's go. Yeah, man. Let's go. Yes. Yes, I was just moving earlier. Let's go.
Okay, so he's not trying to run from him or anything. He's walking with them. And seems to be compliant. Just loses it over time. Like, that's acting erratic. They're not even doing anything to you to cause all of this. But again, we all have our own little ways of reacting to things, so.
I'm not the kind of guy. Stop. I'm not the kind of guy. Stop.
Please. I'm not that kind of guy.
Please. Hey, man. Don't even by myself, man. Please. I'm just claustrophobic. That's it. Oh, you're still going in the car.
You're okay sitting in your car. You weren't claustrophobic, but you put me in this car, I'm going to be claustrophobic. It's because you're having a panic attack. We will, man. We'll stay with you. If you could just chill. We're trying to talk you down. I understand.
Okay. Grab a seat. Don't roll the windows down, okay? Take the seat. I'm going in. I'm going in.
Then go in, man.
I don't believe me. I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not the kind of guy, man. I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die, man. You need to take a seat right now. I just had COVID, man. I want to go into that. Don't roll the windows down. Hey, listen. Hey, man. Listen. I'm not the kind of guy.
should have been able to tell by the way he was acting that it wasn't that type of situation. But he's a big dude. But they should tell by his demeanor it wasn't the type of situation he was going to start kicking and swinging and trying to run. He didn't try to run or nothing. But this is about as erratic and crazy as you can act about this. So far, it's a pure overreaction on his side, right? They haven't overreacted yet. That comes later. But so far, nothing wrong on their part, necessarily. He's saying I can't breathe as he's standing up and sitting in the car. I know right now he's struggling, he's saying he can't breathe, but he's been saying that. Oh, it just sounds tragic. It just sounds terrible.
So after this video footage broke yesterday, immediately on Twitter, you see a divide. You see a divide in people's opinions on what they just watched. Okay? So the people on the left are saying this is murder. It's obvious. The way he was acting was just because he was scared and didn't deserve to die because of the way he was acting. People on the right are saying we've been lied to this whole time. And you led us to believe a story that we finally once we said we don't care what happened and we don't care about the video before because look at what just happened on this video we're seeing right now. Those people are seeing this video and feeling like they've been lied to and feeling like there's a lot more of this story than we were led to believe. And so we watched this video together, and how do you feel about it? I'd like to have that conversation with a few of you. So, I mean, I already pretty much have a feeling how most of my friends will feel about it, and I feel very much there's a middle area here, and I feel that George Floyd was jacked up, okay? Whatever he was on, and those people he was with were on, they were all jacked up. And when this officer walks up with this gun in his hand, he overreacts to the whole situation and loses his mind because he's had experiences before like this. And he seems scared to death that he's begging, please don't shoot me, right? No, we watched all that, so I won't get back into it. But I want to talk about this divided response to the video. I mean, why is this political? This should not be. Why is there a political divide to everything? It's so odd. To that, like, we all saw the same thing. It's confirmation bias, right? That's what I mean, we all saw the same thing. We all believe something. We have a pre belief of something, and we watch something together, and somehow we come out on opposite ends of it. I don't, when you think like, how could anyone I know and love not think this way about it? The person I love and trust, how could you not think this way about it? Well, there's perspective to everything, and that's the kind of stuff that I don't want to get into tonight. You're like, well, that's the most important stuff, and it is. That's the most important stuff right there. But I think it's more important to be thorough in that conversation and have someone here with me that I can have add into the other side and have a conversation, a little back and forth about it. You may be trying to come to a conclusion on how I feel, about this. Well, what is James trying to say? He sounds very one way about it. He sounds very this way about it. I feel like I have a very middle of the road logical view of this. And I want to get it out there of why this happened and how it shouldn't have happened, but why it did happen, and why it shouldn't have happened. So, I mean, you can't be any more fair about this stuff. I'm not trying to have a fair opinion just for the sake of being fair, but it's just kind of who I am and how I am. And I have strong opinions, but I love to play devil's advocate, so I'm fair, to each side and not just lying to myself, just to prove myself right, So I try to tell, but if I'm with somebody who agrees with me on a certain topic, politically speaking, or any of that type of stuff, I try to convince them to, no. If anyone I'm talking to that's on my side of the aisle that believes like I do when it comes to any issue, topics, things of that nature, and we're agreeing with each other, I'm always constantly like, yeah, but they would say, the other side would say to you this, did you know that this, and I would contradict, the other side would say this to you. How would you respond to the other side? Because we get to sit here and just stroke each other this whole time, but I think we should think about having a good even opinion. So if I'm having that conversation with someone, and they're telling me how, this shows George Floyd is crazy and deserved it. Man, if I heard someone say that, that he deserved what he got, that would be, I haven't heard anyone say that. So that's, I'm sure the news would have you believe there's most people walk around saying that. If a white person, most people, they all walk around feeling that way. After watching this video, no, we don't. We feel he shouldn't have been executed. We feel he shouldn't have had an idiot sitting on him all that time. But we also should feel crazy about all that other stuff. George Floyd, I can't breathe as he's standing up, as he's sitting in the car by himself. And no one's messing with him. And he's screaming, I can't breathe. And the people standing around him are like, just breathe, man. What's wrong? There's nothing. They're not doing anything to you right now. Just breathe. And he's just being erratic. And that was a psychotic moment. The officers were completely convinced that he was in the middle of one of these psychotic episodes and felt they had to do what he was asking for, right? Like we saw, he was asking for, please just put me on the ground. Just put me on the ground, hold me on the ground. Right? Just hold me on the ground. Well, he ended up dying, and it didn't have to happen. And I could say that on his part, it didn't have to happen. And I could say that on Chauvin's part, you didn't have to do that. Okay, now you did. Are you going to pay the consequences for it? Maybe not. Because Keith Ellison has ulterior motives and wants something else out of this. You never let a tragedy go to waste. Okay? They will tell you that. You take this tragedy and you implement the change that they believe that they've been fighting for a long time. If you think that's change that you would agree with, then I would ask you to double check what it is that they're wanting. Who's they? The left. Far left. Not liberals, not Democrats, leftists. Okay? He's a leftist. And they will stop at nothing to change this country, okay, in the name of equality. In the name of equality, which sounds great, right? Equality sounds amazing. But what kind of equality is it that you want? Do you want equality of outcome? Or do you want equality of opportunity? This is another difference between the left and the right, right? Do you believe in equality of outcome or the equality of opportunity? The equality of outcome hopes to promise everyone lives on the same high level. What's the chances of that? the equality of outcome. How it matters how much work you put in. What kind of person are you? What kind of personality do you have? What kind of work ethic do you have? What kind of experience? What kind of knowledge do you have? If we're robots, you may have a quality of outcome, but equality of opportunity is about setting us all up for the opportunity to make the best possible means. Quality of outcome has led to millions of deaths. Equality of opportunity has led to the most successful nation in the history of mankind. Equality of opportunity, so we all have the same opportunity, the same starting point. Do we all have the same starting point? No. No, we don't. I'm getting deep into all those things that I didn't want to get into tonight. So just to wrap things up for tonight, I mean, the senseless act that has completely changed our nation, when this has been happening many times before him, this is not the first person. And this has happened many times. And for some reason, this one, because it was so vicious, it was so blatant when we watched it. And this one has really changed the world. It has started making the conversation turn a little bit. So I want to talk about those kind of things and talk about this turn and how to not to go too far, but how to go there and get there and know that we have to work together, and we have to be able to work together. So again, guys, I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight and listening in and getting this quick take on this opinion on this very tragic thing that deserves so much more conversation. This thing I did tonight was because that video broke yesterday, and I made a prediction in regards to that exact situation just the day before, so it's really fresh, hot off the press kind of thing. So I wanted to get the little bit off my chest about that video and be able to break it down with you guys. So I didn't want to go into too deep of the detail of all the other stuff tonight. I'll save that for that other time that I'm mentioning, because I've got people that I'm just gonna start showing you opinions and showing you conversations of how people feel from different communities and different sects of society. And we'll be able to conversate and get deeper on those kind of things a little more. But until that time comes, guys, I hope you stay safe and have a beautiful day of work tomorrow, and hopefully as quickly as possible I turn around with another video where I have time, where it's not so late in the night and we can sit here and actually get a good conversation going. Stop wasting these topics. We need to get deep on this stuff. So thanks for listening. Have a good night.